In the second unresolved problem segment tonight, Republicans and sanctuary cities. President-elect Donald Trump pledged to defund sanctuary cities during the campaign, and Republicans in Congress are already making plans to carry through on that pledge. Here's Congressman John Culberson, a Republican from Texas, on Fox this morning.
If you want federal money, follow federal law. And President Trump and Attorney General Sessions, I'm confident they're going to do the same thing. And everything's now pre-positioned for New York, Chicago, California to lose their federal money. But it's their decision. If you want to protect criminal aliens, don't ask for federal money. Those days are over.
Joining us now for reaction from Atlanta, Scott Miller, a Republican strategist, and from Fort Worth, Texas, Francisco Hernandez, an immigration attorney. Francisco, hello, Francisco.
Hi, Mr. Molly.
Follow the money, right? So if you break federal law, you're a city in a state that's breaking federal law, you lose out on all those funds that the feds give to you to secure your borders.
If it were that simple, what's amazing to me is that this congressman who's in charge of spending the money doesn't know how the money is spent. The federal money that these jails or cities get are to, in fact, enforce immigration laws. And it's not aid like welfare. They have to take training. They have to do that to get the money. If we don't give them the money, then they're not going to help immigration customs enforcement do their job. So they're paying for what they're getting.
Right, but Mr. Miller, there is a way to cut off some of this additional funding that these states get that they send to these cities, right?
Of course there is. And I mean, you know, if you argue for the sovereignty of a state over a city, over the federal government, then you really, I assume Francisco would leap to the defense of George Wallace when he tried to make Alabama a segregationist state. I mean, if each city can decide for itself what laws, federal laws, it's going to obey and which it's not, well, I think federal funds across the board ought to be withheld until they come in line with law.
Well, let me just bring this up, Mr. Miller. So if a state is violating federal marijuana laws, you're not suggesting that they be some of the funding for their state jails and prisons and law enforcement be pulled back, do you?
No, I don't. But I'm not a constitutional lawyer, so I don't really understand how those drug laws are applied. But I do know that immigration is a federal law, and I do know that for a city to decide that it's going to ignore a federal law, it has to have some kind of consequence.
The city is not telling anyone they're not following federal law. In fact, the money is designed so they will help enforce federal law.
No, Francisco, they're breaking federal law. The law says that these local municipalities need to turn over illegals that they catch. They need to turn them over to ICE for deportation. They're saying they're not going to do that.
No, ICE does the holding. ICE sends a detainer on anybody that they believe is here undocumented.
And they reject ICE. They say no.
They have to give them 48 hours.
Francisco, the mayors have said we're not going to turn these people over, even though ICE knows about the people who are illegal being held by these cities.
You know what? ICE doesn't need their help. They could come in. It's federal law. They can come in and pick them up no matter what the city or the state does.
Scott, Mr. Miller, am I wrong? But ICE cannot go into a jail and grab someone out of the jail cell.
Certainly can.
Yeah, that's not the way it works. Those
as the U.S. Marshals do every day.
Go ahead, Scott.
Well, perhaps a U.S. Marshal can come in and do it. I don't think the ICE people can take over a police department or a city jail. I mean, the most insane thing I heard the other day was I heard Rahm Emanuel, you know, saying that you know, forever Chicago is going to be a sanctuary city, and he said, I want you people to know you're safe here. Well, hell, nobody's safe in Chicago. So I don't know how he made that statement, but it's just not right.
But Francisco,
look, this is a federal law.
Yeah, at the end of it is. It's a federal law, and these people have violated. And you keep thinking there's Kate Steinle. It's a story very familiar to this show. Kate Steinle, her perpetrator of the person who killed her, was caught 7 times, accused and convicted of felonies. And he was still on the street because he wasn't turned over.
That's not a city's fault. But the imperative information here is...
Well, it is the city's fault because they didn't turn him over.
Congress, we have waited 16 years for Congress to act. Now the Republican Party has all three segments of the legislature. Let's see if they're going to act. Right. Are they going to pass immigration reform?
It's bottom line. Guys, I'll tell you what. This debate is certainly not over, but we have to leave it there right now. Scott and Francisco, thank you very much.